Ladies and gentlemen, the only Karan Johar. A very, very warm welcome to you as
Thank
the
you.
world calls you K-Jo.
I don't necessarily like that.
Let's give him a huge round of applause, Mr. R. Balki. So tell us, what is it that we can learn in terms of similarities and differences in these two industries?
I just know that the movie stars get a lot of money doing the advertising work they do. And God bless the advertising industry, because then they come to us a little cheaper. And we can make them do interesting movies at lower cost because endorsement pay them so well. And I also know that thanks to the endorsements, we've had to change many times. We have to change our schedule all the time because some big brand always wants them immediately for some reason. And before Diwali, we can't do any kind of shooting because they have the Diwali campaign to do. Then there's a summer campaign to do. And if you try, and you cannot argue about brands with them, because brands is what makes their bungalows, their big homes, their houses out of the country. Some legal, some not. And whatever it takes, they make their bucks with the advertisements that they do. And so more power to this industry, thank you. You actually make the superstars who they are and bring them into drawing rooms and homes much more than our cinema does. Because God knows that our footfalls are falling, but the ads are not.
Balki sir, what are your thoughts on this same? I mean, you belong to this. This is your family right here. And then you've taken the superstars, that Karan Johar has made into, your films as well. So do you see a similarity? Do you see you making the most of that? Are you seeing yourself making the most of the so-called star overweight?
I know what they think of us from what Karan has said. We do kind of... enrich them in more ways than one. But it's not them and us. I just feel that a lot of celebs and Karan, when I say celebs, I mean the actors and everything, look at the advertising industry not as such a creative industry, because I think most of the time when we use them, we aren't at our best. Okay, we kind of do a lot of stuff to make them substitute, or in many cases, an idea. And so whenever they are involved in a lot of campaigns, except a few of them, of course, they tend to look at advertising more as, okay, here's some cash.
Here's some cash. But on that note, I'd like to ask you, you very specifically mentioned that you take your stars, you leverage them and you sell a product through them. I mean, all your films have done so well. Do you think that they would have done this well without the star cast that you chose?
No, I think stars are a very, very important part of cinema. I think we come to see stars, we come to kind of live a bit of their lives, want to be a little like them. So I think stars are important. It's not that, movies without stars don't work, because you get lost in something else in the film, if not stars. But yes, we create stars, we nurture stars, and in fact, a lot of the survival of cinema is because of stars and what people aspire to them. Yes, there are writers and directors and storytellers and fabulous stories that are making a lot of money and are being enjoyed by audiences. But if you put Salman Khan against a green screen and he's silent for about 3 hours and he just shakes his hand and leg, it makes 200 crores. So I think stars are really, really important.
Well, that brings me to my next question. So where exactly does the phrase meaningful cinema lie for both of you?
You're asking me?
Would you like to make any meaningful cinema?
I don't know, I'm pretty much the wrong candidate for that phrase. I don't think I'm known for meaningful cinema. I don't think I've ever got that kind of credit, even though I've tried. The endeavor at my end has always been...
Kapoor and Sons, yeah?
Great, Kapoor and Sons,
worked.
Kapoor and Sons. Thank you. But I mean, single-handedly as a filmmaker, I don't think I've ever been given that kind of, like, every time I've tried to do something new, it's always never met with that kind of, it's always like, oh, he makes NRI-friendly films, or he makes, like, been there, done that romances, or, you know, it's always the same thing, song and dance and all that. But the endeavor has always been, actually, to kind of stretch yourselves vis-a-vis cinema, and the endeavor has always been to kind of, you know, do something entertaining with a certain kind of quality and class. But having said that, I mean, meaningful cinema has so many kind of like interpretations. I think cinema has definitely evolved over the last decade and more. There are so many new subjects, new genres, new filmmakers, new voices that are actually, you know, penetrating celluloid in the most effective manner. And actually, I'm really proud of the phase we're in, because I think there's this very year, I mean, if you see, it started with Airlift and went into Neerja and then Kapoor and Sons and then Key and Ka. High on concept, maybe low on budget, but definitely not low on audience. And
No,
it's been a tremendous, but I mean, this is, having said that, we don't know how the year is going to turn out. And there might be some big grossing Bollywood films that will again meet with some kind of criticism about their commercial sellout nature. But it's the business, you know, you go through some, it's like it is in advertising. Sometimes not every campaign really strikes a chord. Sometimes they've got the biggest movie stars in them and they're kind of silly, the ads. And sometimes you have those tiny little thoughts which don't have any movie star in the campaign and are huge successes and resonate deeply with the consumer, you know. There's so many advertising victories which don't have movie stars in them. And I think it's those gems that really stand out and become references. I think very few movie stars really work towards their campaigns, like Mr. Bachchan or Shah Rukh and Aamir in some of his campaigns. They really work towards creating something special and don't just treat it like a money job. But more or less, I think my perception, my understanding is everyone's here to everyone's counting number of advertisements and endorsements they're doing. How much work they put into that and how much they really care for that product, I'm not sure too many of them do.
Would you like to direct ads?
Not at all. Because I was once subjected to something called a PPM. Is that what it is? All right. This happened a decade ago, and I was asked about, there was an ad which Shah Rukh asked me to do, and there was a chocolate cake in the ad. And there were a bunch of 10 people in the room, and we discussed what the cake should be. I was told that Black Forest is an aspirational cake in India, as per the research done. So I was completely flummoxed, and because where I come from, a chocolate cake is a chocolate cake. And whether it should be a Black Forest cake or some kind of a truffle or some kind of a gato coming from wherever, didn't matter. But there were 10 people very seriously showing me research about what that cake should be. And then after that, what jacket color he should wear and how his referencing is about that jacket color. And how military green is not Shah Rukh and black is. And after that, I just realized that I'm never doing this again.
Wow. Balki sir, how many times have you used Kasata ice cream in your, I mean, talking about Black Forest being like aspirational. Once upon a time, Kasata ice cream was inspirational and aspirational to the Indian audience, right?
I think if you do a research in Kasata ice cream, they'll say irrelevant today.
Irrelevant, isn't it?
Also, so many actresses on red carpets look like Kasata ice cream.
Well, you have been, branching out of, your hat-wearing director, producer, screenwriter. You've also become a style icon. You are the ones telling your Kasatas what to wear and what not to wear. And you've also been the face of a very famous digital platform. So, would you all like to make films for the digital platform? The 4-inch, 5-inch screens?
Yeah, of course, I think they're platforms.
Right.
I mean, a film is a film, an idea is an idea, a story is a story. It's got to be written regardless of the platform. So I think it just depends on the idea and what it is. The platform is immaterial, actually.
Do the budgets matter?
Of course the budgets matter. It depends again on the story which you're kind of telling. If the story requires a certain kind of budget, you either have it or you don't tell the story, one of the two.
Also, I mean, I was traumatized when I was asked to do a short film which was called Bombay Talkies, and we were all given 1 crore each. And I remember, I think I shed a tear because we were given 1 crore and that's it. And I don't think I've ever been 1 crore to do anything.
I remember you used your ADs who sit in your office and have coffee and
like,
co-stars in the film. They were the star cast as well.
Also, digital is a word that's just thrown around all over the place without any comprehension anymore. I think everyone's just saying, oh, you're not moving movie. If you're not making a movie, why not something in digital? What does that mean?
Yeah, Yeah, what
Everyone
does
has
that
to
mean?
kind of there's lots of meaning to that, but it's just being floating around like web series, digital. These are just things that people are just saying, you know. No one has really understood the future of this platform, and there's actually a tremendous future. And if you really strategize it and you do the right thing and provide the right content, it's actually a humongous part of the entertainment future. But right now it's floating around in my industry just like as an additional vertical that everybody seems to be excited about but knows nothing about.
Excellent. So do you think you're going to go out there, make some research and, you know, put out meaningful cinema on that
Let me
platform?
answer the meaningful cinema for him. Actually, he makes the most meaningful cinema in Bollywood because he's given a lot of meaning to love.
Yes, he
He's given a
has.
lot of meaning to romance. He's given a lot of meaning to tears. He's given a lot of meaning to the beautiful things in life. I don't think there can be better meaning than that. I mean, meaningful cinema doesn't mean that you have to kind of be so realistic and give meaning to various social issues alone. The biggest social issues is to have love in your life and have a nice life, feel beautiful about life. I mean, he's done it more than anybody else.
So Kejo, tell us. So Kejo, tell us about your love life. No, I'm sorry, no, I never
I mean,
said that.
really.
Very quickly moving on. I mean, we've got Times Network who's bringing to us this leadership summit. We've got a question here. It's from Imesh Gunevardhane, Sarva integrated from Sri Lanka. He says, with English content viewers increasing in India, tell us what's the future of Hindi films?
It's actually, Hindi films will of course, I mean, why Hindi? Just Indian films, all languages. In fact, our regional films are doing so phenomenally. We were just discussing on flight today how the Marathi cinema has really evolved and is outstanding and doing some outstanding work. And down south, we've always had some great pieces of work. And in fact, I haven't seen the film that Balki and I discussed about it in Nat Samrat. And I believe it's outstanding. And in fact, a lot of the films that are coming out of not only Marathi, but whether it's Telugu and Tamil and so many films across the country. But yes, with English content can never really override regional content or national content in that way. But definitely, I feel like there is a big threat to cinema in general. I just feel that just the big event films are doing the big numbers, and the small or the mid-level films are really fighting word of mouth, really to kind of make their place. Or else they're just completely dying after the first weekend. Footfalls, if you just give you technical detail, have reduced this year by 10 to 12% as opposed to last year. Now that's a big drop. That's a big drop in the exhibition zone. So there are so many additional platforms which people are turning to, be it television, the mobile phone, you know, alternate levels of entertainment. It is quite scary, and if filmmakers do not up their content and do not empower writers, we're in for a terrible phase of Indian cinema. We have to empower writers, and that's what we don't do. Directors love to stand tall and pretend like they've written it and done it all. It's not going to work. You have to empower writers. If you do not empower them, it's going to be the death of Indian cinema, and I think this has to be a wake-up call for all of us.
Let me just ask Karan a few things. Karan, this is the advertising community of this country, and cinema is, of course, you know, we all struggle to market films. We all have a lot of theories on how to kind of market films. It's very funny that the most valuable property of India, which is its films, have not used possibly the biggest marketers and communicators to make the films, to market the films better. In fact, very few people in this room would actually be involved in marketing a film, possibly one of the most important products this country produces. And why is it so? Why is it that the industry, or why is it that Bollywood has not reached out to the advertising industry, or the advertising industry hasn't reached out to Bollywood to kind of market films, to have better ideas of how to reach films, develop content? Because if you can sell a soap, or if you can kind of sell a SIM card, if you can sell something like that, I'm sure this room and this amount of talent there is in this industry can play an invaluable part in marketing films, which in our experiences, we know how much of gut feel we use, how much of science that we use, what are the theories that we have. Whereas all the theories and the science is here about every product that there is. It's strange why we don't do it. Of course, we kind of borrow a lot of talent for writing, and there are some directors and writers who moved from advertising to Bollywood. Those things happen, but that's very marginal. I'm talking of the true power of advertising that is right here.
I mean, Balki, I don't mean to diss my industry. I love where I am and what I do, and I absolutely love the people that make the movies around me. It's a solid industry full of some really talented people, but we are big victims of the herd mentality. Now, you're asking us to have done something strategic and intelligent that may not entirely be us. I mean, it was not, it's all this advertising and all this promotion. It started with perhaps one star doing it and everyone, mall visits. Somebody did it, everyone did it. You know, a MediaNet, someone did it, everyone did it. It's like that. You get a PR, you have a marketing team, you just follow what everyone else has done. No one has sat down and analyzed that maybe 80 or 90% of what we do when we promote a film actually is just not working. And maybe we should take those minds that you're talking about to help us do some market research, because what I understand is your theatrical trailer is everything. Your first unit that you put out is 80 or 90% of your job done. And then now we have this haunting a phenomenon called Ormax, which gives us an opening weekend number that kind of gives us sleepless nights. So then we are basically going mad. And then actors and actresses are wearing all kinds of designer clothes and landing up at events, and only fashion sites are having all the fun. But is it helping the consumer to buy the ticket to come and see the film? I'm not sure at all. This entire bubble is going to burst, because eventually people have realized that no matter what you do, 1 month they're parading in all kinds of designer wears, reaching every kind of channel and every kind of media house possible. But sometimes the film actually loses its energy and steam by the time they release. Whereas they started interestingly and then they've completely dead. So in fact, marketing sometimes, over-marketing a film sometimes kills the product, and they make it much worse for the cinegoer actually to go out there and see it. So I wish people would employ some of the brilliant minds in this house and actually change the way we market a film, because we're doing it right now, I believe we're doing it all wrong. Like completely wrong.
Wow, that's a huge statement to make.
No, I believe that, because I mean, I've been sitting and we sit with every film and we start with the same process. Let's launch our theatrical trailer, call the media, launch it at PVR Juhu. We'll all stand there, we'll show them. After that, we'll be like, okay, now let's start visiting media houses and let's put out stories in front pages of papers and call Pink Villa and Miss Malini and High Heel Confidential and do all that. Great, these are all great bodies and doing tremendously well. But we're doing the same thing. Then it's like, okay, who's styling the actor and who's styling the actress? What are they wearing for the promotions? These are not important. Has anyone asked them what the character of the film is, in their film is? What is the story? What are they communicating to the film? Nobody cares. It's become like completely redundant. This entire marketing bubble has to come to an end. And we were talking about it today.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a parallel to advertising here. We went through, because of the explosion of media in advertising, where you used to have one print, one television channel, or many television channels. We used to have a television commercial or a print campaign, at the most kind of direct marketing to people as pieces of communication. When media explosion happened, the fancy thing of 360-degree communication happened, which actually the film industry has also picked up on saying, what's the 360 we're doing around everything? Now, I keep, you know, I've always said that it's actually 358 plus 2.
Right.
Which is, the 2 is everything else that you do. The 358 is the biggest, the idea that you have for everything. But, you know, advertising is facing a very, very similar thing. It's very difficult to quantify today what really is working. This fancy word of digital, a lot of times, you know, there's been fantastic researchers which have shown, you know, so many viewerships, so many hits, so many people have kind of interacted with that stuff. The research has shown that people consume a lot of stuff for the content itself and not so much for the product. They say, what a great piece, what a great story, or what a lovely touching 5-minute video, or what a lovely touching experience. It's very, very distant from what you're buying and what you're saying. And I think there is a parallel between what is happening in advertising and what is happening in film, but there's a confusion of really what is working. So let's do everything possible. In advertising, actually, the monies are, because in film we have stars who are going to be featured in every media that you have. You're giving it to them free. That's the price that you pay for marketing your film. In advertising, we don't even have that. We actually have to kind of go out into every media possible and spend the money.
Right.
Because nobody's going to give space for a soap or something else free. So that's the kind of confusion that I don't think just the film industry is having. I think overall, this unsureness with clients and marketers of what is it that is really working? Where is that? You know, now we're occupying every one of the consumer spaces for advertising. Before he used to give us, let's say, these 3 spaces, I will listen to you. Now we are there in every part of his life. Okay, so attacking everywhere.
I mean, it almost makes you miss the good old days where all my father did was take his print to Vaishno Devi and prayed. That was his marketing. I mean, that's what he did. He went to Vaishno Devi and he prayed and he said, now we'll see, kya hota hai, Jai Mata Di, we'll see what finds out on Friday. I mean, that Jai Mata Di was such a great feeling in your heart. Now Ormax is telling us what to do, MediaNet is telling us what to spend, television channels are charging the earth, sun and moon, and we still end up with such a poor opening weekend. It's quite terrifying now.
Well, no, that being said, I think we've kind of managed to intersperse our two industries. And what do you all have to thought? I mean, what are your views on product placement? It's become quite, huge in movies by itself, the movies you make.
That you must speak to Balki about.
Yeah, I mean, there is like a part of, the toe is in the door.
No, I think product placements are, it's a science. It's not about just placing a product because somebody gives you money. First of all, I think the myth is over that products actually pay a lot of money to be in films. Help is, in most of the cases, they help in actually promoting a film. They don't help in making the film. Okay, that's the first myth that has to be shattered. The second thing is product placements are all about integrating the product. It works best when it's part of a particular scene or when a character is interacting with the product as part of a character. It's not just, somebody kind of, just drinking a Coke and you have a close-up of a Coke or whatever. Or sometimes the mobile flashes, unnecessarily the telecom operator's name comes in where it never flashes on any mobile phone. Like that. So I think those kind of things are gone. It's going out. I think people are getting cleverer. Clients are getting cleverer. They don't want their products kind of placed so matter-of-factly and so kind of in your face. They want it, integrated in such a way the consumer has an experience of the scene through the product. Because they also look at it as taking that scene out of your film and promoting it for them. They're not looking, product placements alone are not giving people the mileage. What gives people the mileage is the ability for the product to integrate into the scene of the film and use that scene to promote their product rather than the other way around. That's what product placement is kind of turning out to be.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, but I have a question to ask you, Balki. Would you make a film with an item number in it?
I just did, I think.
High heels then
it's not an item. I don't know what's an item.
What is an item number?
I think everything. If Salman Khan's walking in slow motion, it's an item number for a lot of people. Or somebody else is walking some other way, it's an item number. It just depends on what it is. I don't think it's about, yeah.
No, I think an item number is that song that's not required in narrative and Sony and T-Series paid you money and you have to put it in the movie. That is an item number.
And then you all forwarded that money to Honey Singh or Badshah or...
Yeah. That's an item number, and I am definitely also very responsible for that phenomenon. So I cannot even diss it because I have made many in my movies.
Yeah,
because I think that everyone's kind of done there. How much rap can you keep hearing? Yeah, I mean, and there's only that much Honey Singh and Badshah have to offer now. They're going to run out of rhymes eventually.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Yeah, I mean, there's only that much that those poor men have. I mean, they'll have to change their way we look at music. Now suddenly I've been told, it was very simple. Bhushan Kumar once told me कि ये हमारा देश है, यहाँ दर्द के गाने चलते हैं या डिस्को के गाने. So he gave that line to Farah and she made Darde Disco. That is pretty much because that was his simple thing. Dard ke gaane. He says because heartbreak is a universal emotion. Amir ho ya garib, your heart breaks in the same economic manner. So he said you have to have a sad song in your film if you want, because men like to cry, women like to cry, and both like to cry when their heart breaks. So it's important to have a heartbreak song.
I mean, with the kind of applause we heard, I think we've got a lot of heartbreak right
Because
here.
for heaven's sake, for 4 years we've been hearing Tumi Ho, it's been coming out of everyone's ears. That's because Chain bhi, Dard bhi, Ashiki, Tumi Ho, it's a very sad song, but the nation loved it.
Hamari adhuri kahani and
everything. If it was a puri kahani, no one was interested.
Not at all. We've got a very interesting question from Sumit from Radio Mirchi. You said that we need to empower our writers. They are the future of Bollywood. They are the future of any platform of stories to tell. So an interesting observation is that there are so many remakes being made. So why? Is there like a dearth of good writers or a dearth of good ideas?
I think, remakes have been made across the world in all languages. It's called an adaptation, it's called an adapted screenplay, it's even a category at many award shows internationally. For some reason, we believe that remaking is an incorrect thing. No, if you remake a film beautifully, it's actually a great thing to do. It's not, and you need a great writer to adapt material that already exists. But what has happened is now there has become like a little bit of a bastardization of that concept, because now you're just remaking because you're hanging on to the brand profile of that film and you're trying to leverage that. that. You're not necessarily trying to empower it and make it better. You know, so that's the problem. That's why there is a kind of a negative slant to a remake in what we're doing, because we're not actually really adapting it in the most beautiful manner. Where all we're doing is taking advantage of the equity of the previous work and trying to create a certain noise around it. That is not the reason you remake something. You remake something because you truly believe you can adapt it in a current manner, on a more newer way, or in a totally different syntax altogether. But that unfortunately is not the case.
Well, that also brings us to, you know, two of the biggest, phenomena of the box office, at the box office in this year. We're talking about Neerja and Airlift. So we've got a question by Devdutt Nirmale from Viacom 18, Media Private Limited. He says, what about biopics? Do you think they're overhyped, overrated? We've got, you know, adapted cinema, then you've got adapted real-life biopics. So what is your take on that?
No, they're not overrated. I think it depends on what the biopic is. I mean, if it's interesting, it'll make for fascinating cinema. Like you've seen, like Baag Milkha was one, Neerja is another, Airlift of course is one, and there have been quite a few actually. Sarabjit is coming right now.
Right.
And there are quite a few of these things, the lovely
Dangal's
stories.
coming up as well. And,
Yeah, I think they're fantastic stories waiting to be told.
These are fantastic stories, but it also brings a lot of criticism. Like Neerja brought in like a lot of organic criticism saying, oh, but you know, that is not the real story. So where does one take the, you know, the advantage of being a writer, saying कि मैं ये explore कर सकता हूँ?
I thought that was completely baseless, if you ask me, because I think it's not a cinematic license. It's why you're making a biopic is because you're telling a story, and you're definitely giving it a coating of drama, and you're definitely, of course, you know, kind of adding a few facts and kind of changing it so that it makes for compelling viewing. Why? I mean, it's not, and they say that quite in the beginning, that yes, it is an adaptation of the true story. If you just tell a story that, like it is, it probably won't be, though I do think that reality is stranger than fiction and way more wilder than what we present. But sometimes you have to kind of change it so that it makes into a cinema narrative, into a narrative that is compelling to an audience while you're watching a feature film. So, I mean, I don't understand if some facts were probably altered in Neerja. It was obviously for cinematic purposes and nothing else. So now everybody has to criticize something. The moment a film does exceedingly well, also there are those naysayers that arrive with their intelligence or their points of view. If a film doesn't do well, then of course God help you, because you know everyone will be attacking you on social media and on every platform they can find. So what do? You just basically do what you need to and don't look left or right, because that's the only way it works.
Well, you know, that's actually not just limited to films, it's also limited to advertising, wherein, like, say, an X company makes a story, tells you that, okay, let's empower women, then if it does well, you've got a lot of criticism. So how do you all deal with criticism when you tell a story that's close to your heart?
I'll tell you, it's not just a story that's close to your heart. When you do something that's new, first of all, and not necessarily do with biopics and facts, even if you do something, I know a lot of ads, and a lot of ads that I've done all my life. I think, you know, the brand equity has this best and bekar kind of section. Before, there used to be the only way to kind of judge advertising. There used to be a lot of gurus commenting on advertising. The best ads have always been bekar, okay? And I can quote millions of it. And the same chaps have actually run front page articles as case studies of those same ads 1 or 2 years after that, okay? So it always happens that when there is something new, see, we all have a defined pattern of creativity, both in films as well as advertising. We think good must be like this. We think great must be like this. We have a picture of what it should be. And if you see something that's violently breaking that picture, okay, your first thing is, I'm uncomfortable with it because it doesn't fit the pattern in my head. But what happens is we all live and learn. And I think it's just not the critics, it's just not the people who are watching your ad. You yourself do it a lot of times. You live, you learn, and you say, hey, there is a new way to look at it. Because people are not looking for originality or creativity. People are looking for, hey, is this editing? Does this make sense? Does it connect with me or not? As simple as that. People don't go into any other kind of zones. So it is always open to criticism. Criticism is a very painful thing to live with. And I think when you break a mold, when you try and do new things, you have to live with the pain of being called a fool for some time before people call you, okay, you're not bad, you're not a fool. That pain is the biggest risk that people take in taking a risk, actually, nothing else. Because as far as the consumer is concerned, it's no risk. As far as the fraternity is concerned, both in film as far as advertising, it's a damn painful thing to live through, and I've lived through this enough.
Well, Well, we hope that changes, and I'm sure it is with, the kind of cinema you're making. But you said the consumer out there is looking for greatness. And if you are the representation of providing that creative outlet to greatness, what is greatness according to you all?
He's not looking for greatness. I mean,
It's this soul searching.
the
They want
consumer is the
something more.
most forgiving human being in the world. Okay, if you see a lot of stuff that has worked, just bits of entertainment, a bit of a laugh here, a bit of a connectivity there, and he's ready to applaud you.
Right.
Okay, he's not saying till that last final dot is correct, I will not forgive you. Nobody looks at it like
Till
that.
that last thread on
He's just
Salman
going there
Khan's
to be
shirt
connected.
doesn't tear off.
And I think it's that kind of thing is for us to kind of perfect in everything. The consumer is kind of, he wants entertainment. He definitely, engagement is what he wants. Entertainment is a wrong word to be used, engagement. Because sometimes we look at films that make you cry as not entertaining. They're very engaging.
It's very
Or, films that make you think, everything is engaging. He just wants to be engaged.
And what about your thoughts on the same? I mean, is there something that you look to me, there's been one Sholay, there has been one Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and that has kind of, changed the way we look at cinema. There's been one Dil Chahta Hai. What do you think is going to be the next great thing when it comes to creative outlets?
I mean, that is such a difficult question to really answer because, when it unfolds is when you're meant to be completely bowled over by it. You can never strategize or plan brilliance. It's going to just happen. And every film that was intended to be special never really planned it. I don't think the team of Lagan thought that they would be such a fantastic film. I don't think the team of Dil Chahta Hai thought that they would make a cult film at that time. You never really plan it. You tell your story. And I think you're true to your story. And few of us actually, have a few films perhaps that we can probably be proud of. But there are some filmmakers and some storytellers and some actors that really, I think, just work for their passion and, for nothing else, for just leaving behind a strong archive, not only in their careers, but in the archives of cinema. And when it really does happen, you're meant to say, oh my God, like, I still don't think I've directed a film that possibly is going to be, in one of those books that have those 100 films. When I saw Lagan, I walked and told Amir, I said, oh, you made it to the archives of Indian cinema, because I knew Lagan would be truly setting a naya door, pun intended there. It was really going to be remembered as a beautiful piece of genius in the archives of Indian cinema. I don't think I've basically made that film as yet, though I'm looking forward to making it. But when it happens, it will just happen and it'll surprise me, and hopefully I will be alive to see the applause it gets.
I'm sure. I mean, what is your take on, this free, open speech? We've spoken about criticism. So what do you think about this open speech that we have through social media? Everything either gets an applaud or gets criticized. So how important is it for you to decide what your next project is going to be, or whether you should go ahead with the one that you are doing right now?
Free open speech, you mean by what people say to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today
But
you've
you
got
have
so
no
many
idea what
platforms.
people say to me. Like I wake up and I can't even say the kind of things that I wake up to. Like early in the morning, I'm abused every morning. It's like every morning you go down your timeline and you're like, okay, fine. It's like your mother, and social media gives you a reality check in this country. I mean, it's really the biggest reality check. You have to go online and you think you're so loved and you think that you may be famous. You just go online and type your name and just hashtag it, and you'll see what people have to say about you. And it's the way it is. People have opinions. People on social media are there because they have their opinions. They're venting. Some of them are angry. Some of them are happy. They go through their beats, their emotions. And if you can't beat them, you have to join them. You can't criticize social media. It's a reality of our times. You cannot, because you'll be left alone. You can't be one of those people who says, I don't care what people say. No, you have to care what people say about you. You have to accept their criticism. You have to feel happy when they praise you. And you have to fight your way through this entire zone. You cannot be indifferent to the reality of our times. So this is what it is. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram.
Yes,
and I'm abused on a daily basis. Sometimes with reason, sometimes with not. You have to know what to sieve and take what you can. And you have, like I was telling Balki today, I read every single review of my film. Whether they criticize you or they praise you, I read it. I like to read it. I like to hear the praise. I love to read the criticism.
So do you manage your own Twitter account? And you
Yes,
don't
I
have,
do.
like, a
I
PR?
type everything on my own. Nobody handles it for me. I totally read it. I'm obsessed by reading about what people say, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, because I really believe that that's what keeps you grounded. That's the only way you are right in touch, because I see so many floating actors and filmmakers who have we have a big D that is the biggest disease in our industry. It's called delusion. Everybody is deluded, I want to tell you. I want to write anonymous letters to about 100 people and say, dear so-and-so, this is what you really are, this is what you should be doing, and this is what you are doing, which is complete nonsense. But then I can't do that. Because I'm a producer and director and I need to work with some of this insanity every year.
Excellent. So what is social media to you?
No, I have a dramatically opposite take from
Yes,
Karan on this.
exactly.
I am not on social
You're
media.
not on Twitter.
I will not be on Twitter for a simple reason. I don't want to read. It's not that I'm delusional because I already think I'm the worst. So I don't think I need to have anybody else tell me I'm the worst.
Oh,
so
no.
it will take me a lot of social media to actually tell me I'm 1% good. So when you are at the lowest, you don't need anybody else abusing you more. And I have no desire to tell people, and I'm not in his state. I don't need to engage with this insanity quite a bit. I don't need to tell people where I am, what I'm doing, what my opinions are on certain things. I don't feel the need to say it, and I find it extremely tiring. I just find that the space in half an hour I get damn tired. The amount of things that I have to absorb doing that. So therefore, I'm not in it for very practical reasons of just. I just know.
So it's the morning cup of chai or coffee and the newspaper for you?
No, I don't even read the newspaper these days because I just feel that it's the morning cup of tea gets spoiled.
Wow. Okay, we've got a question from Subrato Chaudhary, Kinetic Advertising India Private Limited. He says, in regards to Bahubali being a blockbuster movie, Karan, what inspired you to produce this movie in Bollywood? I mean, yes, of course, there's a box office collection, but whatever Karan Johar touches, it turns gold.
I'm obsessed with Rajamouli. I mean, I love his work. I've seen every feature film of his. So I just took that flight to Hyderabad to meet him. And because I really wanted, I heard about Bahubali and I knew what he was making and I knew his vision and I knew how exemplary his vision was. So I went to meet him and I knew he had released a film called Eega in Hindi, which wasn't actually platformed as efficiently as it could have been because it's a great film. For those who haven't seen Eega, you have to go and see it. Amazing, amazing film. The most novel film with the most amazing energy. It's fantastic. There's nothing better than that. I've never seen something so original. And I went and met him and I said, Bahubali seems so exciting that one should kind of give it like the right platform and dub it into Hindi and make sure you have that viewership for something so majestic. And he was totally on board and we got down to, we literally, kind of collaborated together for us to do the Hindi version. And it did phenomenally. I mean, it's a huge success story. I mean, it's done 5 times the business of any dubbed language film in the history of, I think, Indian cinema. And it's a huge victory.
Wow.
And why did Kattappa kill Bahubali
We'll find out.
has become like the biggest trending topic ever. So yeah, we'll find out April 2017.
We will. So there's another question that comes from Abhishek P from FCB Ulka. He says, everyone loves, a trophy. Everyone loves recognition. What is keeping Indian cinema away from the Oscar? What are your takes on that?
That committee?
Blame it on them. What does your mom say?
That committee has finally, this time they sent a good film, I think. It wasn't The Good Road. What is it? It's in Court, which was fantastic. It's in Court. But I mean, I think that we have to kind of always work towards sending the right film and not like go through the process of like whatever the red tape and bureaucracy gets involved. I just hope that every year there's a very strong panel that sends the right film. But having said that, it's wonderful to go and be nominated and win that international, but we can't work towards that. We have to work towards kind of empowering our cinema here. I mean, if you are going to make the Oscar the be-all and end-all of your existence, it's not going to add up for me. I mean, I would love to wear my black tie, walk the red carpet, be nominated and win it and say, this one's for you, India. But I mean, I would love to do that for India itself and not go there and say it.
So my question is, why do we get so much criticism and flack, say, if we send an Amir Khan film? I mean, why don't such films with star value, make it to that Oscar list? Is there a reason
No,
for
I think
that?
those lines are completely blurred now. This is no longer like, I mean, any film which Aamir have done, Shah Rukh, or any of the mainstream superstars have done, which have gained credibility, are always, I think, looked at now in the same light as possibly a Court is or a Masan is or any kind of great piece of. I think right now, if Aamir makes a great film, of course it'll walk tall and probably open so many doors internationally. That concept, those lines have blurred because now everyone's realized that it's about content. If the world loves your film, there's got to be something special about it.
Are we losing our talent to the so-called West with Priyanka Chopra leaving us and staying there, living there, doing her thing? Do you think more people are going to make the advent? Do you think so, Balki? Do you think so, Karan? I mean, it just received a lot of awards. I'm trying to, think out aloud.
No, it's great. It's more eyeballs to the actor or to the film. And I think more power to Priyanka, that she's doing tremendously well. And, why look at it in a negative manner at all? Look at it positively.
No, not at all.
She's great.
She's
looking
amazing.
great. She's doing really well. She's also doing some work back home. So she's balancing her career super efficiently. And if those doors open for you, why not? It just means more people in the world are watching your work. And that's great. Why should that not be a possibility?
Would you like to direct a Hollywood film? If it's offered, I mean, would you like to take a story and say, hey, I would like to direct this for the West, Balki?
Yeah, the story is what is something that would be a global kind of have an appeal.
No.
You would. I mean, it all depends on the idea that you get. It's I don't know with which story. I would like to kind of write a story that comes out of my head. So if that happens to have the sensibility for a different audience, yes.
Right.
But I think we're all
Why do you
Indians.
call them different?
Huh?
Why do you call them different?
They cry differently, they laugh differently, they move differently, they cut differently. They're faster in certain things, slower in certain things. It is different. We are different people. We eat different food also, yeah?
Wow, yeah, well, that
So there is, see, this whole thing of a homogeneous audience, and if it's a great film, everybody in the world will like it, all this is rubbish. Okay, I think we like certain ways of expressing our emotions. We have a certain way of, falling in love, feeling sad. We like to kind of do it a little bit. People laugh at us out there. We laugh at them. I mean, say, what's this far? That's all.
It's true.
Yeah, there are some, of course. We can't keep quoting those few examples of a universal kind of appeal and say, look, cinemas can be made for a global audience. It's not always true, and it need not be true.
Well, I'm just going to ask you that question because I think you answered it in like a whisper. Would you like to make a film for the different people?
No, not at all. I have no interest because I don't know what to do. It's very strange. When I directed My Name is Khan, and I had to direct these American actors, and they were actually speaking in English because I couldn't direct them while they were speaking English. It was really strange. I understand the beats of the Hindi language in mainstream cinema. I just did not know what to say to them. And I was like, these lines are sounding so artificial, the ones I wrote. And I said, just make it your own. And I had such a struggle. I'd have no interest because I'm too filmy to go there and make one. I can't do it. And I have no interest. I won't be able to. I will just be so out of play. I'll be trying so hard to be cerebral and intelligent and try and impress everybody that I'll make the worst film ever. So, I mean, give me my Hindi songs, give me my Hindi drama, give me my heroine looking beautiful, give me my good looking people in this wonderful nation that we have, and I want to make only Hindi cinema. I can't make it in any other language. I have no interest. I'm an unapologetic Hindi filmmaker, and I dance even now to sleep sometimes. I put on those item songs and I dance on my own in my bedroom. I'm very happy. I'm 44 and I might look ridiculous if someone saw me, but it gives me happy. It's my spirituality, is my Hindi film, and I don't need anything else.
Wow. So I have a very, I don't know, I find this interesting. It's Sahiba from Madhouse who's asking you this question, Karan. Karan, have you ever faced a scene where you've asked an actor to act better? And he said, I have so many endorsements, I know I can act. Have you ever cursed advertising for that?
No. I've cursed advertising when my schedule goes for a toss. I've cursed advertising when it comes in the way of my movie making. But I've always, I'm all about like the media. Be it advertising, be it film, be it television. I think all of them are such important verticals, and they empower each other. They stand alone and they stand tall on their own. And more power to all you people in this room. You do great jobs, and we make some great pieces of work and it's wonderful. So I don't ever diss anything. Of course, I'm I'm sure people in here in this room must be really cursing us much more. And they have more reason to, because, you know, we are dealing with movie stars and God knows that's not easy. And when they're on a film, on an ad set, I'm sure they don't come with that kind of energy as they do on a film set. So they have more reason to complain, we don't.
Oh, all right. This question is to Balki. Balki, what will it take to bring Low back to Goa Fest in the Abbeys? And this is from Suchit.
I think this is a question that you must ask. I have a fantastic answer for this one. It's a question that you must ask Arun, actually, who is in charge. I just feel that it's not about coming back to Goa Fest or not. It's this whole, like he said, that I'm very happy making Hindi cinema. We've always had that position as far as advertising goes. We're very happy doing things that connect with our people. We really haven't appealed to juries. We don't want to kind of say that we are creative in a way that you are judged to be creative or not. And it used to be like that before. I'm sure it's no longer that way. I think juries have matured all over the world. I think the way we decide and judge advertising has changed quite a bit. But I don't think we'll come back only because it's worked for us. It's worked for us, it's motivated our people to be good without recognition, to be good with just the recognition that comes from the market and from clients. So when a positioning is handed to you by default, it would be foolish to kind of give it away.
Well, there you go. You got your answer. A few more whistles out there. Thank you, Suchit. Well, I guess that brings us to almost wrapping this lovely engagement, this session that we had. Would you like to choose, you know, a point of inspiration? Like, what is it that you love about Karan Johar's films? And Karan, would you tell us what you love about Balki's films or Balki's films?
I have to say that from the very beginning of his filmmaking career, Balki has never chosen a theme or a concept that has gone unnoticed. You could love it, you could perhaps not, but it's always been so heavily high on concept that it's remained a topic of discussion for many, many months and years after. Be it, I think, his romance of an older man and a younger woman in Chini Kam, you know, the condition that he portrayed, the medical condition he portrayed in Pa, which was done so beautifully and essayed fantastically by Mr. Bachchan. I would say that even what he did in Attempted with Shamitab was a genius concept. You know, it was completely fantastic. And now with Ki and Ka being such a huge topic of discussion that, you know, there are panels now discussing it on various levels, just like it is in the film. So I think his concepts have always been fantastic. All filmmakers aspire to always give you something new to an audience. And I think that is something that Balki has never been low on. He's always been very high on something new and high on concept. And that's, I think, the most standout feature.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Balki, for making such films.
As far as Karan goes, I just wish I could make some of his films. I wish I could make
What a plug that was. So smooth, producer Sahab.
No, I think, no. He's not producer Sahab. Not He's a director and a writer sitting here, blushing. But I think Kuch Kuch Hota Hai for me was, I am a huge fan of his. It's not about, you don't discuss ideas, you don't say performance, you don't say all that. It's such a beautiful film. It's almost like the other name for Hindi cinema. You know, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. You know, when you kind of mock Bollywood, and you embrace it. We love mocking Bollywood and embracing it. Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum is the example of embrace the big Bollywood. This is what our cinema is. This is what actually a lot of people aspire to do through, you know, various other mechanisms. But he's just done it so effortlessly, so from the heart, absolutely uncompromisingly, and beautifully done. And I think that is craftsmanship or storytelling or really understand, or really just being himself, and most honestly, I just would love to be that, you know. I think just honesty of, this is what I am, and this is what I love. Love it if you like, and people loved it, and that's beautiful.